The first thing you do is that you generate your image in one of our 5 proprietary models, or you upload your franchise IP in one of our 5 engines. And we also offer localized solutions for studios, but that's another topic, so that they can generate without having internet in their own GPUs. Once you are satisfied with the image you generate or upload, you take our brush and very quickly ideate. You put some rocks, you turn it into Art Nouveau or Art Deco or whatever style you want. And then we have these 2 different AIs that lets you quickly parse a flat image into different layers. And we have a camera we have a camera control, so you can mimic the moves of the camera and look if ever there has been an unwanted artifact. And of course, our Queen feature, which is a depth package that has the JSON file with a correct estimation of depth, and then coupled with all the images that you have created and their depth maps. And that we let you export it to Disguise for our 2.75D, but Gianluca also has another surprise for us all. And all of that for filmmakers to be able to go from concept to camera in minutes. It's actually a demonstration that we have done in London at Garden Studios. We had a live audience of 100 people. We ideated in the now, we generated, we outpainted, we modified, we parsed it through different layers and uploaded to a media server. This time it was Assimilate, and could have this shot in less than an hour. Thank you so much for listening to me. For those that will stay by the end, we all have a gift for you. We are just so excited to be in your presence. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please write to the chat. And we will all be happy to answer. With that, I think I give the mic to Barış. Gianluca?
Yes, Barış, yeah.
Thank you guys for having us. It's very exciting to be here, and I will be showing you a demo and my workflow especially to you. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Yep, so I will just go and dive in. And in here we can pick multiple sizes for the canvas that we want to create. And I will go with a classic 1280 by 720. And after creating our project, we have our image generation tool popped up in here as the first page that welcomes us. And in here we have 5 different image generation models. And I want to show you the comparison table also. So the standard is capable of generating any kind of image with any kind of artistic reference or style. And classic is the one that has the yellow tones and some sun rays and God rays in it. And Moody is the one that has more raw realism into it and more dark tones. And the sci-fi one is sci-fi, what we can say. It's more plastic and dark blue, dark green, and metallic tones. And we introduced our graphic model. So it has the capability to generate in various graphic styles like cartoon, anime, or illustration. So I will just go down here. In here we have generate random prompts button. It will give us a few examples to inspire us. You can even change the main object with the things that you want and experiment with them. And they are custom tailored for creating photorealistic and filming results. And the best part, before I hit generate, I want to introduce you our advanced tab, which enables us to have control over the generated image. And we have few parameters in here called steps, sample methods, CFG scale, and seed. So the steps is basically, so we see that AI image generation always starts with a noisy image. So that noise will remove gradually to become the thing that we write the prompt of. So the higher the steps are, that means we have more details in the image. So it is the steps for how many times it will remove that noise. And the sample method is the mathematical procedure that are like, we have something like 15 in here. So there are all kind of experimental sampling methods that you can use while generating an image. They will all have different results, but so it is like a mathematical formula that removes that noise with the help of steps and our CFG scale. And the CFG scale is the thing that we um, want to keep balanced, because it is the way that we um, the prompting is all about that. It is the way that we talk with the AI, image generation AI at that sense. So if we have a higher CFG scale, that means that we will have more control over the generated image. So it will listen our prompt better. But if we lower it, we are basically saying to the AI, okay, you can take over the generated image, and you can dream yourself with the help of me. And the seed number, as Walter calls it, it is the DNA of the image, generated image. So you can replicate everything with using the same settings and the same prompt and negative prompt.
Mhm.
So it will give you the same image every time you do.
One of the things that'd be great to add and translate, maybe for the visual effects crowd here, they're very, very knowledgeable about this. This is pretty much what translates into what we are calling bias and weight that is being used in other AIs, and that's where we're translating that. So very, very cool stuff.
And yeah, so I picked this prompt for you guys today for, let's hit generate. The best part is you don't have any tokens in Cuebric, so that means we can generate infinitely. So at that sense, with a click of a button, it generates 4 different variations of the prompt that you have in here. Here we're starting to have our generations. So it is good to have variations, because sometimes you need to experiment on the generated image. So it is helpful to change the seed number, change the steps, change the sampling method. These are the default settings that are giving the best results that we prepared for you to use. So in the sense of prompting, we have so there's a thing like, the thing that I am doing right now is called prompt engineering. And the engineering part comes in when you start to see how to structure the prompts. So structuring the prompt is an important process, because the main idea is we want to see the things that we imagine. So that's why we need to understand how to talk with the AI to get the things that we want. So in here, we can inspect that prompt. We start with an object in the image that will take a big space in our generated image. For that example, it is our modern, futuristic, organic shaped concrete tiny house. And then we explain what is around the environment, what is the environment includes. So in that sense, we said mountain peaks at twilight. So that also gives us the time of the day, how the color should be, and how our objects will look like. And then this was the first 2 parts of our prompts. So usually it is best to have like maximum 4 or 3 structures, like parts in your prompt. So these were our 2 parts. So as a last part, we can include our variations like cinematic, lighting, say AK, moody, highly detailed, and blah, blah, blah. And these will, there are some specific words to improve the generated image. If you wanted a more cinematic or a more photorealistic one, you can always start with a photograph of a modern futuristic, blah, blah, blah. So that means we can achieve any kind of aesthetic with the generative AI of Cuebric. So I think this one, let's pick one. I think this one looks cool. I will use it. So let's try with a different model too. I want to show you how graphic works with that prompt. And the good part is the generations will pop up and saved in your archive left down here. So you can import them directly. That means you can import the settings and prompts and the advanced settings too at the same time. So they are saved already. Here we have our graphic generations. It is kind of sci-fi and I love this. That's cool. So let's move forward with our image. So the cool thing that I want to show you as a second part is our in-painting tool, which enables us to in-paint something in the image. We can change the material of an object. We can put a brand new thing in the object on the generated image. So what I'm going to do now is I will mask the house. So this one is kind of long. And we have the customizations for brush size, color, and the opacity of our brush. And we have a little tooltip in here. We also have a modify feature, and I will talk about this in our next steps. So let's use it. So I will write a wooden cabin in here. And you can also play around with the advanced settings in here too. That means you can have a similarity slider that you can push it around, and we have the detail slider and the steps and the other guys again. So let's hit generate. So right now what will happen is AI will try to understand what is in the image, what we have in the image, and it will try to replicate the thing that we write the prompt of at the masked area. So this feature helps a lot while you're on the set, because directors may want to change an object. And in the ideation process, it's also very important because it gives you a freedom that you can change any object or the time of the day or the weather or the environment. You just need to brush over the area.
One of the things that we always have in situations is like, wow, this forest looks amazing, but we change our minds. Can we change all the trees for buildings just like that? And it was like nightmare. So now that's actually possible. You can do those things very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So if some of those things that were probably left out is that it is entirely a web-based, software. So we are able to run it even in a Chromebook, and you can do amazing things there. It doesn't really matter if you don't have a very powerful machine. Then always keep in mind that the language of AI is something we're all learning as we go along. Some of these things are different for every different package, but for Cuebric, they're very simple and very direct. So if you are able to express your idea to a friend, the same way you're going to be able to type it there exactly as you think of it, and it'll interpret it in a very good way, especially in a very photorealistic way. So the left prompt is what you want to see. Some of the things that I normally add are cinematic shot, number one. Then I also add extremely wide angle. And I can even add, which respects very well, I've noticed this in the last few weeks, 14 millimeter lens. I can add 14 millimeter or a 24 millimeter lens, and it'll actually look very much the way that lens would do. There are obviously prompts that you can do certain specific lenses, Canon and with any kind of type of brand. So those things will also respect your input. And then on the right side, if you don't want to see people, because we are able to create crowds and visual effects and all that, you just say people and then comma. I don't want to see vehicles because we're going to add that later. And all those things are always going to be improving your workflow. Now, the challenges are always there. For example, interiors can be more challenging. That requires a very specific way to interpret that. And I'll be showing that later into the Unreal Engine and Maya workflow. Those are two of the main tools that I've been finding myself using mostly. Also Blender. Blender, one of the good things that it has that we all know is that it can still read some of the very old formats of motion capture. So when we want to bring characters, Blender saves me from having to find a way to translate BVH or any film box, rare file. So please post any questions that we have there.
There is two questions. There is, can we mix and match between two creation by painting areas of interest?
Yep, actually we can. So we can import a generated image or an image from your local source. So we have a tool called a selector tool. So that means you can give shape to any image in here. Let me show quickly. So let's say I imported one of my images. And then I import a second one. So I can just fill the entire area without writing any prompt. So, or we can even mask it. So the best thing about it is you are able to generate an outpaint as the maximum you can go, because the stages has various different sizes, and sometimes you need to have the main object in the area or in your screen as a small object like this, so you can inpaint the outpaint whole the area. So I can show you right here. Let's jump into that. Basically, it is very helpful when you before you start to create your Unreal level, it is always better to have your layers segmented, and that's the thing that I will show you in a second.
In the meantime, I can ask another question. There's a lot of CG guys I can see on the chat asking about 16 bits, ACCG, EXR. So I talk just to fill the gaps in between the loading session.
Yes, and I was just responding there that those are actually on our roadmap because it's a big request, particularly from the visual effects industry, because we know those are the workflows that are mostly implemented. So we're actively looking into that and testing on a very alpha stage at this point, but these things happen rather quickly once we have it all sorted out.
Yeah.
And then color spaces are, I was going to say, they're very, very useful when you are in a virtual stage situation. Are you running P3 space, color space in the LED wall? And every manufacturer is different. So depending on what panels you have, it's what's going to look best for the camera. Always keeping in mind that what the camera sees is essentially what's going to work for you.
So we are outpainting the scene now. So it will fill the empty pixels. And it will do it as the most seamless way it can. That's the goal.
Okay, the time the scene is generating, there's another quick question about animation. Can we add some trees movement, for instance?
So with our segmentation tool, it is possible to even cut trees out of a background. So you will still need to use another third-party software to animate the trees, but the segmentation with like powered with AI can help you have the trees segmented within a few clicks with hover and click feature that we have.
But by the way, Barış, I have to say something. Since the beginning, nothing you are doing is working. And I think there's something with your internet because I'm in Costa Rica with bad internet and I've been just mimicking everything you're doing and everything is working with me. So shall I maybe start sharing my screen myself? I find it really odd that nothing is. Do you think you have good internet there?
I have, but yeah, you can share if you want.
Okay, why don't I share my screen and then you will drive me? Let's do
Sure.
it that way. I was just mimicking exactly what you were doing. So this is what Barış generated. Let's generate it together.
One of the things that are mentioned there is how is this painting? Well, painting is the action of actually painting something that you want to change on that particular scene. That's really all it means.
So what we can also do, we can extend our canvas here. And if we do not write anything and we just push the word generate, the tool will automatically fill in the holes that are on the left and the right of the image. And afterwards, I will be taking my brush and select the house, and you can ideate with yourself or with the director sitting next to you and turn the house into a wooden hut or whatever, Art Nouveau or Art Deco.
Here is another question that is interesting is node-based prompts. Would that, they would love to have a node-based workflow and all that. All of these things are possible and are in the future. There are requests for certain things for an interface that would simplify. Everybody has a different approach. For visual effects artists we're very manual, we like to create things with our hands. Prompting feels a little bit backwards. So those things can also be considered. And please do give us that feedback. We need that feedback from you guys to say, we would love to have a node-based workflow where you can include certain things and layers by node. Every other software has transitioned to a node-based workflow pretty much.
So the good thing with Cuebric is that it's one of the very, very, very few tools that allow you to work with AI in layers. We're not a demo tool. It's a professional tool that has all these different AIs here and lets you craft what you would like to do by allowing you to work with layers. So it always gives you 4 in painting in return. I don't know which one you guys prefer, but this one looks good to me. I like this one. But what I have done so far is that you see here fill and modify. I have done with fill because what fill is very good at is to fill in the empty pixels. What modify is very good at is to modify a part of the image that already exists. So I am going to take my brush, and I'm in the mood for, what did Barış write? A wooden hut?
Let's do a wooden cabin,
A wooden cabin?
please.
Okay. And we also have blending parameters, like how much do you want blending, or do you want like straight edges, or you want more blending? I'm going to keep it to standard and to 16. And I'm here at modify. And the other cool thing is that you can also take your fill and bring things into existence that were not there before. Like we can bring a marble statue, we can bring a UFO landing of whatever you are in the mood for. So as you can see, the rest of the image remained the same, but only the part that you have used your brush has changed. And seamlessly, as you can, let's zoom in. We're incredibly proud of our in-painting. If you wish to look, there's absolutely no seam. You can't see where my brush was. And that's like I dare to say we have the best in-painting in the world, which we really put a lot of love and math. So we like to, and we're a young company with big ambitions. So we're very proud of our in-painting tool. Okay, let's, what are
There's
you?
a couple other things I wanted to add there. Not just the in-painting that becomes a very seamless image and well integrated. It also the way it integrates to the light of the already created environment. It never looks pasted on. It always integrates as if it was actually there. So saves a lot of time if you are creating that one establishing shot that you want to do. One of the examples that I gave earlier this morning was if it was the villain's lair on top of a mountain, but halfway through the movie, there's a realization that this is already looking very much like another movie or an animated movie that had the similar house. So we need to change it throughout all the shots. As we know, all the pipelines in the visual effects industry work on references. So there is one master image that has this and is being referenced throughout all the 600 shots that are already in progress. So we are able to change that hut or that villain's layer on top of the mountain to look different. Once the director is happy with that, we propagate that throughout the entire pipeline, and those 600 shots are already updated.
Oh, great. Can you guys show the segmentation
Absolutely. I was
process?
wondering. Yeah, sure. While Walter was talking, I have typed rocks. So as you can see, the tool has given us 4 different options for rocks. I like this one. We can keep that. And once we are satisfied with our layer, let's go to our segmentation. I was wondering, Barish, does your internet connection work better right now?
I'm struggling a bit. You can go ahead and I will lead you.
Okay, sounds great. So let me show you first our depth-based segmentation, and then I will show you our, I'm gonna get rid of these 2 images, and I'm gonna layer this original. Okay, sounds great. So I'm gonna first show our depth-based segmentation, and then I will show, we call it hover and click. I mean, it's a funny name because you hover and you click and you make a new layer. So Cuebric understands the depth dimension, and it works very well when there's like for example, what would work is that if you would like to only cut the mountain range, let's do this. Okay, here I'm gonna make a new layer out of this. And what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use my eraser and, oops, sorry, wrong layer. I'm gonna just delete these parts. Voila. And I'm gonna write, what do I want to see? I want to see a realistic landscape of mountain range. And what I don't want to see is that I don't want to see a house. I don't want to see humans. I don't want to see trees. Is that good, Barish?
Great. I was just going to say trees.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna use fill and I'm gonna make my background plate. Afterwards, I will segment the house and I will segment the rocks. Okay, let's see which one I'm in the mood for. If we don't like green, we can also write green, so you don't have green, but right now it doesn't bother me. So I like this one. I'm gonna make a new layer out of that. Okay. So let's go back to segmentation. And let's see this one. Yeah, this time I am going to, oh, I can already make a layer out of the rocks now that I'm here. Let's do that. Let's segment these rocks. There you go. And I'm gonna make a new layer. Okay, so this is gonna be my one front plate. Let's say this will be three back plates. And I'm gonna get rid of this one. Okay, here you go. Whoops. And I'm gonna use our hover and click, our object-based segmentation. And you know, in time you get a gist of it, like our depth-based segmentation is good when there's like very clear depth in an object. So what we do is that you click anywhere where you want to start. Probably when you want to segment it, you want to attach it with the ground, right? You don't want it to float. So what I will do is that I click here one time, and then I go here, I toggle whatever I click, I want you to add. So here you go, I don't want that. I want this, and I want this part, Let's say that I want all these parts. Okay, great. These parts. I'm gonna just bear with me for a minute. I'm just selecting the edges because then I will be, oops, not this one. And then I'm gonna toggle the brush mode. Oops. Here you go. And you can like slapstick the brush to the interior of your selection that was already selected by AI. Here you go. Since I was not prepared, I don't have my Wacom pad, so I can't like go in super details, but whoops, here you go. I select this too, and this as well. All right, so let's call this my house layer. To house, okay. And then 3 backplate. And I realize I also would like to select the trees. Let's see how it works with our depth map. Okay. Because all I care is the tree range, because the rest I already created. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. Let me think about it. I'm gonna do it like this. Yeah. Okay, here you go. I'm gonna do it like this. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna take the eraser. And I'm gonna delete the house because we already have the house. Okay. And I'm gonna delete the rocks because we already have the rocks. Let me see. So the house layer is here. Okay, so I have to make sure that it goes. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna use my in painting and I'm gonna use fill and I'm gonna use it here. Something like that. Okay, what do I want? I want a realistic picture of trees. Barish, is this good?
Let's do it. Mhm.
And I'm using fill. Here you go.
Another question that came up is are these only stills? Are you able to animate a man walking or certain things like that. Yes, these are definitely just generative AI. And then once you have your material, you're able to create those things in other packages like Maya, 3D Studio Max, or media servers. It could be as simple as a camera move, but if you need to add crowds and walking crowds, that still requires rigging, motion capture, retargeting, character animation, etc. in your environment, into your digital environment or the scene that you created.
Okay, I didn't do this perfect, but I just would like to show you how this works. Oh, I want to also reframe. So then you can see the animation, the camera. There you go. And here is the camera simulator. Of course, I'm not a professional artist and, it's a quick demo, but you already see that it's been just like, what, 15 minutes that we're working on this, and you already have your 2.5D layers. So these are like, what are they? Like, they're like HD 2K. And once you are satisfied with your layers, let's say that you're happy with these, you get rid of these, or you keep them, whatever you wish. And then you go to super scaling, which is here. And we give you the option to resizing your canvas or keeping your canvas as is. You can see the canvas proportions here. I would like to resize my canvas. And you can make the size of currently it also displays the pixel size of your plates. And it says, okay, if you do 2x, your pixel size will be this. If you do 4x, your pixel size will be that. And if you do 8x, your pixel size will be the following. So I want to do 2x right now. So let's super scale. You know what? I would like to have them slightly bigger. Okay. I like it this way. All right. Okay, let's super scale. Oh, yeah. I want to do, but shall I do one by one or shall I do all of them in the same time?
Oh, you are muted.
Let's do one by one.
One by one. Okay. Okay, here you go. Here is your back plate that is much larger.
So if you don't want to resize it, you can also use it to enhance the details.
Yes, exactly. If ever you do not want your canvas to be resized, you can also, use our upscaling tool as a sharpening tool. And let's resize this one, super scale. Here you go. I think you get the gist so far. I am
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah, maybe we could show how to export the package from Cuebric.
Yes. Walter, would you like to show that?
I can take it from there. And one of the scenes that we had prepared for you today was a mountainscape, and I'm going to share my screen here. And we'll go here. So what we have here, I was just about to answer another question they had. So one of the things that we have to do, and based on different environments and different things, we have to understand, and I want to acknowledge that this is the most proficient crowd we ever presented to. Obviously, visual effects artists can do all these things. They don't need a prompt to do it. What we are trying to show here is how certain workflows can benefit from something like this. Because as you well know, 20 years ago, generating environments like this was incredibly complex with a lot of modelers and layout artists. And as we came through, that got reduced. Procedural terrain generation is still possible, but that still takes time in the sense of creating all these assets that you're going to be feeding the procedural generation. But with Cuebric, you have something that could be always environment, and we're strictly talking about environments here that will simplify the task. And the simple things that you can do with it as far as in painting, changing the shape of a mountain, changing the shape of a house that is there. It can be a very, very simple task. So once you have these, I wanted to show that in Maya, I simply
Actually,
create.
Walter, before
Yes.
you begin, I was wondering, I think Gianluca wanted us to show the export.
Yeah, the export, so I can start from
From
there, and then
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
jump
Yeah,
into the 3D. Yeah.
got it.
Shall I
Got
just
it.
go back and show the export process?
Yeah,
before
perfect.
we-
Yes,
Yeah.
that'll be good.
Okay, let me do it. Yeah, sorry guys. So, okay, these are so we are very happy with our screens, our generations. Okay, fine. Let's say that these are the images you would like to export. You click all of them, and then we have an export button. We give you either the ability to export selected layers or download your project, or only export the depth maps or export the disguise package. Let's export this one. It's currently exporting. And when we export, you will see that it comes as a zip file. When you unzip it, it will be filled with our flat images that we generated. It will have our JSON file with the exact meter distances in them. And it will also have our depth maps that if you are an Unreal Engine user, you will still to this day need to load them one by hand. But as I said earlier, we're working on a tech package that will automatically open it Unreal already layered with 3D meshes.
So
Cool.
also it is also calculating the Z depth in the background to give the exact distance between the layers.
It's still
Right.
down.
Still downloading. Yeah.
Yes, it's downloading.
Yeah. Okay. But I think they get the idea. So I can start from here if you're happy with it. Let me share my screen there. So there we go. Let me share my entire screen here. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Oh,
Good.
fantastic. Cool. Fantastic. So, well, thanks for this demonstration, the Cuebric tool. Now we want to, move the conversation forward. I mean, in parallel by analyzing the workflow from the perspective of a VFX artist, and more specifically a DMP artist or a compositor, let's say. First of all, I'm very happy to say that I'm collaborating with Cuebric to improve generative AI tools by offering ideas and concepts to fit the VFX industry needs in particular. And the first point is to advance it and offer richer tool sets specifically for VFX artists' daily practice. So the idea is to bend and discipline these tools to be used as a source of elements the artist can mix and craft together to get a successful visual outcome. So that's the idea. So the undeniable advantage of using AI tools for generating images rely on its unique feature to randomize the outcome, thanks to the diffusion algorithm, etc. In other words, by using this tool responsibly, the user always gets fresh visual options to choose from, meaning the role of the artist remains absolutely centric in creating the final image, as we said at the very beginning of this call. The interesting point as a user is to learn to provide adequate keywords, as you saw in the previous example. In a way, this generative tool returns with the visual result that I'm looking after. So, for example, over time, I've created a real database with some phrases and words which can help me to obtain the scenario or a specific subject I'm after. And it's hilarious because we are now very used to hearing the AI algorithm and need training to become more reliable and for returning better outcomes. But it's also true that we need to learn how to train it and how to search. So a good understanding of keywords has now become paramount for a successful AI image generation. Now let's take a look at some examples here. So I started by trying on different ideas and kinds of environment, and I had a great time by testing with several keywords, and I came up with many different outcomes. Let me show you some of them. I focus my attention mostly on the fantasy or sci-fi mood. I look at the image I came up with. Let me just increase the. So as you can read here, they are the very first tests. You see that I wasn't really proficient with my keywording. I mean, there's a lot of details. The idea is not that great. I mean, there's something going on there. It's interesting the way it's creating things here. But then I started, put some more, words like Barish showed up, and I came up with these interesting things like a fantasy land stuff like that. And look at this mushroom house here. That's so cool. It's, I mean, you can spend hours trying multiple, images and keywords. And here I started, getting into some, realistic thing. And look at this. That's so interesting. And that's the exact sentence that I type into the prompt. A terrifying, decaying Gothic house on the peak of a flat mountain under overcast sky on a giant sci-fi robotic arm. And that's what I got. So cool. And then I got other tests here. You see the realism is way, way improved. And now some crazy stuff like this one. I also done some, color correction in comp. Look at these images. They look stunning. I mean, the limitation is just your own fantasy, basically. And then I got obsessed with some crazy transmitting sites here. You see? Yeah, really in love with that stuff. Oh, there's also a person there. See? And then I also got obsessed with deep craters, machinery, dramatic sunset, high fans, and pipes. And look at this. You see, I'm adding a few, color correction node them to make it look more, cinematic. You see? Some vehicles. Look at these vehicles. I particularly love this one. So that's really cool. So basically, I started trying, different ideas and keywords, I said, and there's lots going on. And I want to show you something cool, a process to build a proper DMP and comp by using Cuebric generated element images along with a nuke tool that I created to manage the exported package from Cuebric. So I generated this image in Cuebric. There we go. Okay. So then I segmented the image in different layers in Cuebric, and then I exported the package by using the export that package option that the guys showed you before. So now I've got a folder which includes all my segmented images. Can you see the screen, right? Okay, great. So you see there are multiple, images here, even the map, and also there's data. Okay. So these stat maps are obviously the interpretation of the image distance the AI algorithm tries to figure out by looking at the objects in the image. There's also a special JSON file here, which is called data. Okay, as the other said, it's basically include the depth info for each layer, and this is a real game changer. In fact, that gave me the idea to build a tool for Nuke, which basically creates 3D geo automatically and sets them in the right position in 3D space by picking up these depth values. So let's take a look at this one. Okay, so there we go. I click here and installing my tool here. There we go. So that's the tool. So now what I'm doing is I'm just locating where my read shot live. I just need to select the package. I don't need to change the layers name and that maps because I mean it's picking up the default names here, and then I just need to select what kind of geo I want to project my far background on. Let's say a card. That's the game changer, the depth based, or use custom value. I mean, you can use the depth based to read into the JSON file. I'm not gonna use displacement now. So I import elements, and there you go. We have all the cards in the right position, and obviously these values are coming from the JSON file. You can see all the layers are sitting on the right place and the right card, and I can even use this parallax enhance parameter here to boost even more the parallax if I need to. Okay. Or if I need, I can even scale the cards and all that stuff. There's also a delete restart button. So basically it deletes everything. And I can use a different geo. This time I want to use the displacement. So let's try this one. Import element. There we go. Same thing. Let's hope it doesn't crash, because sometimes it does crash with the displacement. I can increase a little bit the displacement as much as I want. Okay, obviously the displacement is coming from this specific depth map here. Okay, so you are free to treat it as you like. And then I also have another geo here that I created for this tool. And this is something that you can also use because it's more wrapped around the the shots. And I mean, this was the depth-based ordering, but I can use a specific number. So let's say I want to separate my cards by 0.3. Okay, let's do that. And then, oh no, let's use the card. It's more clear. There we go. Now the cards are separated by the same distance. Okay. So, as you can see, the segmentation features is really important, and it turns out to be very useful because you can even use it to generate masks to grade some part of your image. Let's go back to the other script here. So let's take a look at this image here, this one. So basically, as Pinar and Barish already showed us, you are, when you export the with the segmented feature, obviously you have all the alpha channel, and then you can do your color correction specifically on the areas that you selected. I mean, I exported this specific matte here and this one, and I've been using here for my color grades. So that's interesting part. Okay, so now let's say my goal is to create a nighttime environment shot which features two giant parabolic antennas in a rocky landscape. So that was in fact the kind of sentence I typed into the Cuebric prompt. So now let me show you a few options I came up with. So yeah. Oh, there's the description. Hyper-realistic detailed wide view of a realistic rocky landscape with two big parabolic antennas and a sci-fi gas station, low point of view and foreground rocks, overcast sky. And I came up with this stuff here. Look at this one. This is so cool. The gas station is there. I don't like the car, but yeah, I was just, trying possible solutions. You see? Yeah. And now among all these images, I've chosen this one. And my final goal is to create a cinematic shot. So similar to what I've done in the previous example, I did the segmentation work in Cuebric and I have exported the package. However, with a goal in mind to create a camera animation, let's say a tracking move, you know that usually the parallax will expose some missing areas of your segmented images. This is why it is always a good idea to keep your Cuebric browser open. And in fact, you can decide to manipulate your segmented images even further by using the fill options, the one that Parish showed you before, and fill up the missing areas using the same keywords, or even change it a little bit. Yeah. By the way, just because we have a generative AI tool at hand, that doesn't mean that you cannot use alternative options, like you can complete your missing part by doing some Photoshop runs instead, or whatever you like. Now let's take a look at my own method here, a sort of real case scenario. In fact, during my practice with Cuebric and generative AI, I came up to the conclusion that it is a fantastic tool to be used as an element generator. So basically, I decided to move on with this idea, and I started running multiple iterations and trying multiple elements to compose my final images with. So for instance, for my final comp, I needed more elements other than the two big antennas, obviously. Besides, I wasn't really happy with, this far mountain in the middle. And I also decided to replace the sky with a more interesting one. I mean, this is kind of cool, but I wanted something different. So I started running multiple instances and typing different phrases. So realistic, overcast sky at night, low light level. And you see, I came up with different outcomes, all of them interesting. And I decided to go for this one. Then, yeah, I came up with the idea of a big sci-fi platform sitting right in the middle of the two antennas. I mean, and this area here, okay? So I started doing some search on the prompt, hyper-realistic detailed side view of a sci-fi platform with tall antennas at the horizon in the dark night. And I came up with this one. I didn't like it. So I try another one. And I like this part here. So I decided to use only that part. Okay. So finally, I wanted some flying compact vehicle. And I typed this word: hyper-realistic detailed side view of a small sci-fi starship pod at the horizon in a dark night. And I came up with this. Obviously, I'm gonna scale it down a lot to make it look very tiny in the image. Okay. And then I started looking for some rocks to be placed in the foreground, and I came up with these images. Now you can see I've been searching many different kind of rocks for the foreground, because obviously the foreground part of the image, especially if we are building up a camera move, is very crucial because it's where the parallax is going to be more obvious. So that's why I want to use some of them to create different layers. Okay. And then, yeah, ultimately some red lights there. Okay, then I imported some of them in Photoshop for some further fixes and re-imported them back in Nuke and started laying them down on multiple geo. I also applied some color grading and added some Atmos, and that's the comp. You can see, I mean, this is a little bit more big because I started doing some, color grading and stuff like that. This is the all the geo, and I'm gonna show you the final result here. So let me zoom back and reframe it for you, and that's the thing. So basically, as planned, I animated the camera, but also some other elements in the image to bring it to life. And I came up with these flashing lights and the lighthouse here on the sci-fi platform. You see that? Now I think it's looking cool, considering that I created this comp using only elements generated from Cuebric. Obviously, that was just a quick example of an animated DMP I rushed off for this presentation, but you might want to populate even more with some other elements coming from CG, etc. So in the end, you can look at this tool as a new resource in your hands for generating elements for DMP artists, texture artists, etc. So if you use these tools under this perspective, we shouldn't see a threat with it, but an opportunity instead. And I think that's it from me. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I will pass the mic to Walter.
Hi, thank you. One of the things that are being asked here is, can you show the refinement of an element or a delicate element that would be like a tree or a cloud? So InPainting will take care of that, and we were able to show that earlier. So based on what we exported, and we already showed that with Gianluca's amazing presentation, those images look really great and generated in Cuebric. You can also bring those layers into the 3D world, and this is when we really get into what the studio workflow is used to. One of the things that we do is, first, when I get my images and I understand where they are, for example, the mountainscape that we created and we prepared for you here, first thing I want to do is just go into the properties and understand what is the actual measurements of this image. So once I go into Maya, we create that with the actual measurements by the scale of the X and Z. And
Walter,
then,
you're not sharing your
Sorry.
screen.
Yeah,
Walter.
sharing screen, please.
I was sharing earlier. I'm sorry. I thought it was sharing still. But I haven't done anything yet. I was still talking and just showing the Maya interface. And in the Maya interface, basically what I was trying to show you here, once I bring up my image and I see what is the actual size of it, I can actually create an object that will fit it perfectly so it's not stretched in any way. And when I go into my actual project, that is the mountains, and I have all my layers, and I'm going to show that in that interface right here on the browser. I'm running Windows, by the way. So if I right click on any of my images, in particular cases, the very background, which is the sky, and I go to the details, I can see is 3741 by 1015. So we can just simply create that element in Maya in the simplest way, which is create a plane. I'm just going to go into it and make sure that it has only one polygon, and I'm going to rotate it on X 90 degrees, and then I'm just going to enter those exact values that we were seeing a minute ago, and those are 3741 by 1015. And I enter that on X and Z. So now I have an actual 3D object that is going to fit my image perfectly without stretching or without any kind of distortion. So that is the simplest way to bring in your layer into any 3D program that you are used to work with. And I'm just going to show how the workflow will work if you are bringing that ultimately into Unreal Engine, which is the link not just for your creation for a sequential cinematic shot, but also for virtual production. If you have an LED wall to project to, this is going to go through there in between the media server or in display, whichever your workflow may be. And in this case, we're going to show you how I imported the image itself, which was already segmented, so it has a transparency that is going to work perfectly for us. And then once I have that, and I want to show you on the additional layers here, that we go into the sky, for example. These are essentially 3D objects that I've created in Maya to depict some kind of environment that surrounds the area that I'm going to be working with. And we've done some of these cove type stages in the past for several films. They've been used in different cases to have some kind of a faraway environment that not only is the background for the image, but it also is contributing some IBL. And everyone here knows the image-based lighting is something that has been part of our workflow for a very long time. Furthermore, when we have these layers of images, we can also bring in depth to work with everything we're doing. So what I'm going to do now is bring in that layer that I had, and we have layer number 1, number 2, and I'm going to bring in number 0, because 0 is the one that is in the very front, and the way it's interpreted, 1 is the second layer that we have here. That's the one that we see here. And now I'm going to show you how I work with layer number 2. First thing you want to do is drag your object into the workspace and reset the placement for it. Make sure your scale is locked, and then you can bring that up to a scale that you find will work with your environment. And then you simply drag and drop. And I'm just gonna, delete this material here because I created it earlier. You just simply drag and drop that image into that environment. And I'll delete this previous one as well. And now we have this layer that is going to be working for us here. The material gets created automatically. And when we go into the material, it's just a very basic Unreal Engine material. And we have to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to switch to a plane mode so I can see what it actually looks like. It's not exactly on the same aspect ratio, but at least gives me a good preview of what I can do here. So the first thing we want to do is, and we're going to be learning some very important hotkeys here. We hold M, and we left click on the interface, and then we hold down number 1 and we click twice, because these are nodes we're going to be using to manipulate that material and how it is going to be working, integrating our image. So I'm going to be connecting the value to this 0 value. It's basically, we created a multiplier and we created 2 values. This value in particular is because this is not a spaceship, so I don't want it to be in any way shiny or have any specularity. So what I want to do is just eliminate and bring those values to 0. And then I connect my RGB to multiply A, and multiply B goes to the other value. This will actually go into the emission color. The emission color is because we may lighten the entire image without actually using any lights in the scene. I'll go back to my plane view, and this material is ready to go. So now I go back to Unreal Engine, and the next level will be this. I'm just going to do another hotkey that is very important, Alt number 2. That'll give me a wireframe view of what I have here. And this is what I have. This is the basic material and 3D geometry that I exported from Maya. So what we do now is we go into our selection mode and we go into modeling. In modeling, I'm going to go to the deformation. We are very used to deformers in all the 3D packages. Displacement is something that is now in Unreal Engine as well. And what I do here, I'm just going to reset this and reset all these values so you can understand how it normally starts. When you first create a displacement, it's just going to be by default on Perlin noise, actually. This one here, Perlin noise. So what you want to do is change it to a texture 2D map because you're going to be applying your displacement based on that texture map. And then you just simply drag it, and Unreal is already telling me where this is supposed to be. So I'm going to drag it over there. And the next step will be to add the displacement amount that you want to have here. But before you do that, we can see that the geometry is still very coarse. It doesn't have enough resolution to show us any kind of detail that that image has. So we're going to bring that into probably 50, maybe even 100. I found out recently that it doesn't let me go any further than 100. And that's, I don't know if that's 5.3, Unreal by 5.3, but in the past I was able to go much higher than that. And so once I have this, now I can just really start viewing how the displacement is going to be working on this geometry. I'm going to go by 50, 100, and then I'm going to go to 500. And now we're really starting to see how the displacement is working very well with the layer that we have here. Once we go into Alt 3, which is a shaded mode, we can now see how that geometry is looking really well. And when I go to number 4 for lighting, and lighting here doesn't matter because I really don't need to have any directional light in the scene. In fact, I'm just gonna delete that and accept the changes that I made for this displacement and deleting that light. So now this is where I see what's really working. One of the things that is not working is this other object that I did earlier. And this is the layer 0. The reason being is that the material does not have those nodes that I created earlier. So we need to, once again, do the multiply and values to make sure that the material is going to look proper. Again, you could also map other materials here that will give you exactly the transparency, the brightness, or even the self-illumination that you wish. I'm only plugging values because I'm just in a very basic setup here, but this can be as complex as you need it to be for your particular needs in the scene that you're working with. So once we close this, and one thing I forgot is the value for emissive color is still at 0. So I'm going to bring this to 0.3 because it's already a snow, very, very light image. So a 0.3 could be enough for me to just be able to see it. So now we're able to see that and how this is really working for us. Furthermore, when we have, always remember to do your Control Save and Control Shift Save in order to save all your assets for Unreal Engine. We're going to be creating let me move this interface here. We're going to be creating a sequence because this is where we are really able to see what we're creating. So I'm going to do this, create a level sequence, and I'm going to create VS demo. So now that I have that, I had already created a camera earlier. I'm going to drag it into that sequence. And in order to create a keyframe, once I am sure that I'm in that interface, I'm going to press enter, and that creates, once I select the transform, I press enter, and that creates my keyframe for all the other values that are inherent to transform: location, rotation, and scale. So then we can actually start moving our camera, and I'm going to make sure that I press F, just like you do in Maya. To frame that selection, we press F, and we can see where the camera is actually located. And we can start moving the camera and be able to appreciate how that parallax is actually taking place. And I'm going to go to the end of my sequence and make sure that I key that as well. So once I go back here, I press enter. Here we go. We switch our viewport into cinematic viewport with our camera to view what that shot looks like. And now you can really see how the parallax that is going to be taking place. The more layers you have, of course, the more realistic, more depth you add to your entire environment. And this is basically how we can create shots. Of course, you can add other things. In many things that I add to the camera are always bloom to make it look more realistic. And those values can also be very helpful to make your shot feel like it's more real. And chromatic aberration, which is something we're always being asked to add in order to give us that look of a lens actually going through light and the light bouncing all around the internal parts of that lens. And always remember, Control Save, Control Shift S in order to have that working for you. I would love to expand on any other concepts that you guys would like to be able to see, or any questions.
Yeah, I think Charles, I think it's the right time to do our proper Q&A for this event.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yes, there's a few questions about can you show the refinement, the element breakout edge on something delicate, a tree or clouds?
We are able to, to segment, and only recently we've been able to finally create an insane amount of segmentation that can actually separate complex trees and things in the images. So that's going to be released very soon. Correct, Pinar? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's how it was at least a few days ago at NAB. Things change very rapidly with us. So
Yes, but I still would like to answer their question. I would like to upload a bunch of images and show you our current edges, because I don't want any question unanswered. While you are showcasing what you are showing, Walter, I'm loading a bunch of images in Cuebric. Or let me just generate.
yeah, go ahead and generate. I already stopped sharing, so we can switch to you.
Okay. I uploaded this, but we can also, I'm just gonna generate. Okay, let me see. What do I want? Highly symmetrical group of giant mechanical monsters. Okay, why not? We are currently, I want to show you actually, let me show you our current edges, but then I want to show you an example of what is coming this Friday. That's a different type of AI that we are loading. Okay, let's pick this one. So I'm going to show you first hover and click. Let's not forget that this is an HD image. So by nature, things are pixelated, but I'm just going to show you the edges still. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this in case I lose it. There you go. So this is my monster that I want to select. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Yeah.
So the feathering and choking also helps with the refinement of edges.
Absolutely. I'm going to show that too. Okay, let's select this guy. Let's select this guy.
And then feathering and choking are the exact terms that the visual effects artists are used to work with on their daily After Effects or any other packages they're using.
Yeah, but shall I do feathering 1?
Let's do one,
Choking -1?
please.
Okay, sounds
So
great.
when we do -1, it even eliminates the chance of missing a pixel because we are enlarging the mask.
So I want to show you, I want to take my brush and put a green screen at the back. So then we can correctly see the edges. Okay, great. Of course, here we choke, like there's choking and feathering, but you can also take our brush, the eraser. And go in detail as well. Here. Oh, sorry, I'm on the green screen. Here you go. And we have feathering coming to our eraser as well. But I want to just stop my screen and show you one more thing. I want to show you the quality of what is coming this Friday. I'm just going to show you our Discord. It's a bit like showing you our kitchen, but check this out. So it's a very specific type of segmentation that is geared towards segmenting very complicated objects. And as you can see, it even picks up, how are these things called in English? The rods of the sail.
The ropes. Yeah.
Ropes,
Yes.
yeah.
Here you go. It's a much more detailed and yeah, edge-oriented segmentation type.
That's
That's
very
very
cool.
good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all teams at Cuebric and also Janica for the presentation. Yes, thank you very much for everything. And I'll just have a kind reminder that we're going to have an event of the May 9th in person with the VES. So yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very
and
much for everything, guys.
before we go, we have a gift for everybody that stayed, that they attended. We never do this. Like if anybody that wants to get Cuebric, we don't have free trials. But since you are the world's best of the best, we would like to offer you a week of free trial of Cuebric, if you wish. I am going to post a link.
Of course we wish. Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, merci. Thank you. So if you're interested in getting a free trial, it's a link. We would love to get to know you. If you fill it in, we will send it to you tomorrow.
That's very good. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Excellent.
There are 2 hands raised. I don't know if we want to, just in case there's anything.
I'm gonna answer. I'd love to answer the couple of questions that are left here. One of these terms of lighting. Can we change lighting? That's also in the works. We did some running of that in the past, but usually that comes also in your prompting. You know, if you say magic hour. You know, I really haven't tried as far as coordinates. You know, can the sun, you know, go down in the west or in the east? If you can choose any of those lighting poses.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking this? Because VFX artists are required to have extreme control of the environment, the image down to every pixel. This is why these questions they seem very tough, but this is the main you know, experts of the world that create all the images that inspire millions of people in movies. So this is why it's so important that we cater to you guys. And then the lightings, yes, is something that is also in the work and being able to do it, but also try in your prompting magic hour, noon, high sun, patchy clouds, all of that will be respected immediately.
Yeah, if
There
you
you go.
don't want to change the image, you can also use our brush tool to draw a small sun or a light source and use it as a reference. So it can, again, without changing the generated image, you can still change and simulate the light in various angles and different positions.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't know that. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone, for everything. Thank you for your time. See you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Record.